The Gnostic Erasure. The sky cracked open, and God began to rewrite the world with a lawless ivory ink. I, Lelouch v. Britannia, who once held the power to command all of mankind, could only watch as the geography of Tokyo 3 bled away into a shimmering, nonsensical sea. My Geass, the absolute power that defined my sin and my salvation, was silent in my skull, not broken, but terrified. This was the Gnostic Erasure, a phenomenon devouring realities not with destruction, but with correction. It was an ontological editor, and our universes were its drafts. I witnessed the skeletal giants of Paradise, the titans freeze mid-roar, their monstrous flesh unraveling into flocks of white doves. I saw the impossibly vast geography of the Grand Line simply forget its own oceans, ships tumbling into a void of pure, unformed potential. We, the protagonists of our own storied epics, were being rendered into footnotes. We were gathered here, in this last bastion of unstable reality, a citadel of weeping stone that was both the ruins of Nerve HQ and the crumbling walls of Shiganshina. The convener was a boy with eyes older than the tragedy he'd endured, Eren Yeager. But this was not the furious revolutionary I had read of in the fragmented histories. This was Eren who had seen the end of all paths, his Titan's power showing him the Gnostic Erasure coming. His freedom was no longer a tangible goal, but a philosophical ghost. "It doesn't destroy," Eren said, his voice hollow as a cathedral bell. "It convinces. It shows the world a more perfect version of itself, and the world, in its shame, agrees to change. My Titans, it showed them a world where they were never cursed, and they chose to unexist." Our assembly was a gallery of shattered legends. Monkey D. Luffy, for whom will was a tangible force, stared at his rubbery hands. The erasure had tried to turn him into a mundane fisherman, a logical conclusion for a boy from a peaceful village. He had fought it off with a king's conquering haki, a blast of pure, defiant no that momentarily stunned the encroaching whiteness. "It tried to make me forget my friends," he growled, the simple statement carrying the weight of a universal blasphemy. Shinji Ikari sat curled in the shadow of his dormant Evangelion Unit 01, a monument to paternal rejection. The erasure had offered him a world without the hedgehog's dilemma, a painless, contactless existence he had almost accepted. It was quiet," he whispered, and the terrible longing in his voice was more frightening than any angel's scream. And then there was Killua Zoldyck, who moved with the silent grace of a specter. He reported what he'd seen with his Godspeed-activated eyes. The erasure wasn't a wave, but a consciousness. A being that perceived the tangled plot lines of our multiverse as a cancerous, chaotic growth. It was the author, and we were the plot holes it was diligently correcting. "Our powers are failing because they are rooted in the logic of our home realities," I deduced, my mind, my only true weapon, racing. Luffy's devil fruit defies physics. Eren's Titans are biology rewritten by divine punishment. My Geass is a psychological override. The erasure's perfect world has no need for such contradictions. It is creating a universe of pure, sterile causality. The core conflict was not for territory, or for ideals, or even for survival. It was a war over narrative itself. Our past sacrifices my betrayal of the Black Knights, Eren's genocide, Shinji's instrumentality were being declared null and void. Our suffering was being edited out for a cleaner, happier story. The ultimate insult was not death, but irrelevance. Luffy, in his profound simplicity, was the first to voice our only possible path. "I don't want a perfect world someone else makes," he shouted, slamming his fist into the weeping stone. "I want my world, with all its stupid, painful, and fun parts. A story where I can't become the Pirate King is a bad story." It was a child's argument, and yet it was the most profound philosophical thesis any of us could muster. Eren's desire for freedom, my ambition for a gentle world, Shinji's wish to be loved, they were all flawed, messy, and ours. The erasure was offering us the peace of the grave, disguised as paradise. Our plan was a symphony of beautiful heresies, a final performance against a critic who demanded we break character. We would use the Evangelion, a god of one reality, as a conduit. Luffy, the embodiment of unwavering will, would use his conqueror's haki not to dominate, but to assert, to impose our collective, flawed reality upon the formless void. Killua, with his assassin's knowledge of the body's ultimate weakness, would target the conceptual core of the erasure's consciousness. Eren would unleash the founding titan's power, not to control the past, but to project the entire, unvarnished, bloody history of our worlds. Every sin, every tear, every moment of love and rage as our declaration of existence. And I, Lelouch, would provide the strategy. The Geass in my eye, now burning with a pain that felt like it was scalding my soul, would not be used on a person, but on a concept. I would look into the heart of the Gnostic Erasure, this god author, and I would give it a single absolute command: obey the story. The battle was not fought with fists and blades, but with themes and truths. Unit 01's roar was the sound of every child's rejection of their parents' design. Luffy's haki was a tsunami of dreams, crashing against the shores of cold logic. Eren's paths blazed with the memories of billions who had lived, fought, and died for their flawed, beautiful freedom. And when my Geass flared, I saw it. The erasure was not a monster. It was an artist, horrified by the messy, tragic masterpieces it had been tasked to clean. My command did not destroy it. It forced it to see, to read our stories in their entirety, to understand that the value was not in the ending, but in the struggle. The rewriting stopped. The ivory ink receded, leaving our scarred patchwork reality intact. We stood victorious, not by killing a god, but by convincing it of our right to be imperfect. In the silence that followed, we began to fade, each pulled back to the pages of our own tales. Eren gave a slow, grim nod, an understanding that his fight for freedom was part of a larger, endless war. Luffy laughed, already dreaming of meat and the sea. Shinji, he looked at me, and for a fleeting moment, I saw not a broken boy, but a pilot who had chosen to feel pain over feeling nothing. I am Lelouch v. Britannia. I have commanded kings and shattered empires, but my greatest victory was winning the right for our stories to be tragedies, comedies, and epics, for them to be ours. For a story without the price of godhood, the sting of sacrifice, or the war against oblivion is no story at all. It is merely a sentence, waiting for the period. And we are an epic that will never end.